Hello everyone, welcome back. I am here with my old pal. I think you know who I'm talking about. Scooty! There he is. There's that Scooter. He, for some reason, is super excited today. I have no idea why. He's been running around following me as I've been trying to get organized today, and it's been kind of silly to watch him get so excited about I don't know what. Maybe he just wants TREATS. Because, you know, I'm a pushover for that cute little face. All right. Are you ready for the next installment of Fablehaven? Book 3, Grip of the Shadow Plague. We are back at Fablehaven. Ooh, that's fun. And we are on chapter 16. Oh my gosh, you guys, I just miss being able to talk to you. Honestly, not getting any kind of feedback or responses or being able to point out the idioms or the figurative language or the similes or alliteration or anything in the story. So I hope you've been pointing those out as I've been reading because, you know, it's fun. All right, chapter 16, Refuge. Oh my goodness, do you remember what happened yesterday in the story? Or the last time, depending on when you listen to this. The brownies took over the house and set traps everywhere. And so they have to evacuate the house, right? Hugo trumped swiftly across the backyard, hauling the empty cart through hedges and over flower beds, finally backing it up against the deck. Warren opened the back door and leaped from the deck into the cart, scanning the air for fairies, his fists full of flash powder. After a moment, he motioned for the others to follow. Grandpa, Grandma, Kendra, Seth, and Dale piled into the cart, each lugging a tent or some sleeping bags. Hugo, race to the pond as quickly as you are able, Grandpa directed. You see Scooty trying to get comfortable over here. Silly goose. The cart lurched forward, bucking and swaying as Hugo pounded across the yard at a furious pace. Kendra lost her footing, dropping to her knees. She dug a handful of flash powder out of the bag Grandma had entrusted to her. The others got powder ready as well, except Dale, who held a net in one hand, a compound bow in the other, and had a quiver of arrows slung over one shoulder. They rumbled across the yard without seeing any fairies. Then Hugo charged down a dirt road. Kendra knew that the entrance to the pond was not very far. She was beginning to hope that they might reach their destination without encountering any resistance when a group of dark fairies swarmed into view up ahead. Right in front of us, Grandpa said. I see them, Dale said. Wait until they get close, Warren warned. At this speed, the powder won't hang in the air to protect us. We need direct hits. The fairies fanned out and swooped at the cart from all directions. Standing at the front of the cart, Grandpa hurled his powder forward, spreading it wide. Some of the incoming fairies veered away as light flashed and sparks sizzled. Kendra flung her handful of glittery silver dust. Electricity crackled, zapping fairies from the air as they came into contact with the volatile substance. I'm picturing like a bug zapper type thing. Hugo raced onward, swerving periodically to help avoid the darting fairies. Dark fairies squealed as more handfuls of powder were thrown. The fairies fired shadowy streaks at the cart. Blinding flashes flared whenever the dark energy struck the powder. The tall hedge enclosing the pond came into view. A footpath diverged from the road and led through a gap in the hedge. 3 dark satyrs guarded the entrance to the pond, their heads as goat-like as their legs. Dale swung his net to bat away fairies. A tight formation of shadowy fairies whizzed toward them from the side, but Grandma fried them with the powder. Hugo, ram through the satyrs, Grandpa shouted. Hugo lowered his head and dashed for the entrance. 2 of the satyrs grabbed the third and launched him acrobatically into the air, then sprang out of the path of the oncoming golem. The airborne satyr soared over Hugo, furry arms outstretched, teeth bared. Warren yanked Grandpa out of the way just in time. The goat man landed nimbly in the bed of the cart, an instant before Dale hit him with a flying tackle that sent both of them tumbling over the side. Without an order, Hugo leaped away from the front of the cart, giving the wagon a final push to ensure it would coast through the gap in the hedge. The golem loped toward Dale, who was still rolling on the ground with the goatman. About half the arrows had spilled from the quiver on Dale's back. The two other dark satyrs rushed at Hugo from either side. Without breaking stride, the golem made a motion like an umpire calling a runner safe, simultaneously backhanding both assailants and sending them cartwheeling through the weeds. Don't we love Hugo? Dale managed to roll free from the goatman, and was scrambling to his feet when Hugo seized the dark satyr by one arm, hoisted him high, and punted the snarling fiend halfway to the main road. Cradling Dale, Hugo ran past the hedge and into the meadow surrounding the pond. Kendra cheered along with the others as the cart coasted to a stop. Dozens of dark fairies flew to different points along the hedge, hovering above it, but none crossed over. The tainted satyrs rose and stood at the gap in the hedge, snarling in frustrated fury. Hugo gently set Dale on his feet. Dale looked shaken, his clothes torn and smudged with dirt, one elbow scraped and bleeding. "Nice work, big brother," Warren said, vaulting down from the cart. He started examining Dale. "The brute didn't bite you, did he?" Dale shook his head. Warren embraced him. Grandpa climbed down from the cart and began inspecting Hugo, studying the splotches where the fairies had discolored him with their dark energy. "Way to go, Hugo!" Seth cheered. "Quick thinking, Hugo," Grandpa approved. The golem gave a gaping, craggy smile. "Will he be all right?" Seth asked. "Much of the dirt and stone composing Hugo is temporary," Grandpa said. "He sheds and gains soil all the time. As you've seen, he can even gradually regrow a limb. The plague would have to work in deep to affect him." As Grandpa spoke, Hugo brushed away the discolored soil, leaving his body unmarked. From her elevated position in the cart, Kendra surveyed the scene. The pond looked the same as she remembered, enclosed by a whitewashed wooden boardwalk connecting 12 elaborate gazebos. The interiors of the hedges were meticulously trimmed, and the lawn of the meadow appeared freshly clipped. But the familiarity ended there. The park-like clearing around the pond had never been nearly so crowded. Fairies fluttered everywhere, hundreds of them, in all shades and varieties. Exotic birds perched in trees above the pond, including a few golden owls with human faces. Satyrs romped on the boardwalk and in the gazebos, hooves clacking against the wooden planks as they chased merry maidens who looked no older than high school seniors. Off to one side of the pond was a tidy encampment of short, stocky men and women in homespun clothing. On the other side, several tall, graceful women stood conversing, dressed in flowing robes that reminded Kendra of foliage, or plants. In a far corner of the field, right up against the hedge, Kendra observed a pair of centaurs staring back at her. Centaurs are half horse, half man. "Seth! Stan! Kendra!" yelled a jovial voice. "Glad you dropped in." Kendra turned and saw Doran gambling toward the cart, followed by an unfamiliar satyr whose woolly white legs had brown spots. "Doran!" Seth cried, leaping from the cart. "I'm so glad you outran Newell." "I led him on an epic chase," Doran bragged, beaming. "Sharp turns saved me. He got bigger, but wasn't quite as fleet. Tenacious, though. If I hadn't thought to come here, he would have snared me in the end." Kendra climbed down from the cart. The satyr with the white legs elbowed Doran. "This is Verl," Doran said. Verl took Kendra's hand and kissed the back of it. "Enchanted," he simpered in a smarmy voice, wearing a ridiculous half-grin. He had stubby horns and a childish face. Doran punched Verl on the shoulder. "She's off limits, you blockhead! Caretaker's granddaughter." "I could be your caretaker," Verl persisted, limply retaining her hand. "Why don't you take a swim, Verl?" Doran said, ushering him away several steps before returning. Kendra ignored Verl when he turned and winked at her, fluttering his fingers. "Don't mind Verl," Doran said. "He's a little intoxicated by all these nymphs trapped in the same place as him. They normally won't come within shouting distance. The guy makes a career out of striking out." "I can't believe how many creatures are here," Seth